When you're at the stage where you're ready to self-publish your book, you are going to feel proud, hopefully, proud, accomplished. You're going to feel so good about it. You're going to be excited. But there are some things that can bring that down sometimes. And today I want to talk to you about criticism. Obviously, many of you probably know the criticism that happens with writing, but there's criticism about self-publishing too. And I want to talk about both of those. In general, you can't get better at something unless you have criticism. Criticism can be both good and bad, just like consequences. There are good and bad criticisms, consequences in life. And criticism is unique because it is what helps writers grow. It's what helps us learn how we can be better. We can be self-critics very easily, but we also need those outside voices sometimes to play into our story, our writing styles, and that, those voices push us to be better. When I first started sharing with people that I had self-published a book, I approached it as I've published 2 books or I've published a book. And people would get very excited. But the moment I said, well, I self-published, it's up on Amazon, you can go to barnesandnoble.com and shop for it, the mood kind of dropped. All of a sudden, people weren't that excited. People were like, oh, self-published. Okay. It's almost like they belittled it. They thought that self-publishing didn't mean as much. But the truth is, if you have self-published, you've put a lot of time and energy and work into getting your book available for people to buy. It is not the same as traditional publishing, obviously, but I don't think you should ever feel down because you've been criticized for self-publishing. Like I said, it takes a lot of time, energy, and work, but it is still a book that's up there for sale for anyone to buy. On Amazon, there are millions of books out there, whether traditionally published or self-published, that sell through Amazon. You still have a ranking. I may be the 3 millionth book in top sales of Amazon's, 100 million books or however many that they have. But the fact is, I could be a #1 bestseller through Amazon, through self-publishing. It all is about how you market, how many buyers you have, the kind of reviews you get, all of that. So never let anyone talk you down or belittle you for self-publishing, because it's still a great achievement. You can still go very far in what you've done. When it comes to critique on your writing, you're going to get a lot of this. Anyone that you ask to be a test reader, anyone that you send a few sample chapters to, they're going to have opinions. Now, a lot of people get excited about being able to critique and give their opinion. They get excited about saying, here's what you can do better. And I really think no one ever means it in a judgmental way, in a mean or negative way. I really think that those people are trying to help your story along. They're trying to help you along. But you do have to be very selective in how you take that criticism and feedback. When it comes to grammar, sentence structure, obviously there's some laws of English or your language that pertain, that maybe there's no opinion about it. There is fact of this is a full sentence. Another piece of advice that I would give would be to not send your book to people who don't read your genre. For example, my husband loves documentaries. I'm having trouble saying that word. He loves documentaries. He will sit and read nonfiction books that are about improving your skills in something. But he's not going to sit down and read a book about fantasy worlds, dragons, magic, that kind of thing. So it would be ill-advised of me to ask him to read my book specifically for the purpose of criticism and feedback. Now, I would like to think that I am such an amazing author and such a good storyteller that if my husband read this book, he would be sold. All of a sudden, he would love fantasy. He would want to read Harry Potter and the Inheritance Cycle and all my favorite childhood, fantasy novels, the Redwall series, anything like that. But he's not that guy. That's not what interests him. And so it would be a bad idea for me to ask him to read this and then offer criticism because it's not something he's interested in. So that is my piece of advice. If you're going to send out your book to people who want to read it, who are interested, and you want criticism and feedback from them, don't send it to people who don't care about your genre. So just be careful and selective on who you send your script, your manuscript to. Let the people who know the genre give feedback. Otherwise, you're going to get some very skewed advice. Now, everyone's going to have their opinions on what should happen, especially with your characters. You're going to have so-and-so be like, oh, they have to fall in love. Or, oh, this person, they've got to die in the end. That's the only way to make it worthwhile. You're going to have a lot of people offer up their twists and turns as well of what they think should happen. it is totally up to you of whether or not you want to take that advice. That is what's called creative control. And as an author, you get to pick and choose kind of what you take and what you leave. And that's a wonderful part of self-publishing as well. You have full creative control to write the story how you want, to have what you want to happen to each character happen. So it's really fun to have people get excited about your book, to want to offer feedback. I will also say this, no matter how prepared you think you are for criticism, there are things that hurt and that sting. The hardest thing for me to hear was the fact that I self-published and people said, you self-published. Yeah, no big deal. They didn't think it was the same. Now, obviously it's not fully the same, but it was hurtful because it was a lot of work, a lot of time. So for me, I can tell you that was the hardest criticism, that by self-publishing, people almost didn't feel like my book was real. They thought it must not be any good. After that was probably people explaining parts of my writing that could have been better. As ready as you think you are for self-criticism, there are things that still sting a little. There are things that still might hurt a little bit. And you have to be very open-minded, though, as to what will help you grow as an author. It might hurt, but it might still mean you need to do it. I might love this scene that I wrote, but if people that I trust and who are educated in these things, or if multiple people come to me and say, this scene just didn't make sense, or, it got boring, or, the story just didn't advance well here, that's news to me that I might have loved it. I might be really proud of it. But if it's, my book is for the reader, not for me as an author, or else I would never publish it. So if those scenes are getting those kind of criticisms, I need to be open-minded to think, okay, I need to rewrite this. I need to let go of my own pride and my own excitement of that and look at how to make it better for the reader, because the point of me writing these books is to share with readers. So I hope this has been a little encouraging, a little educational of what might come your way with self-publishing and the kind of criticism you might get. This was a longer conversation because it's hard to talk about criticism. It's hard to pinpoint exactly what kind of criticisms you might get. But hopefully this helps a little bit in preparing you. If you've already been through the writing stage and having people read your book, you've probably experienced some of this. But just be open-minded, take it with grace and with kindness, and then do what you think is best for your story.